If you're looking for a moderate amount of height and a better ride for your 2019 or newer Silverado 1500, excluding the Trail Boss and ZR2 models, this Freedom Offroad 3-inch suspension lift kit with shocks is a great kit to consider. Now, this is a perfect choice for the Silverado owner who wants better ground clearance, the ability to fit a larger tire in the wheel well, and wants a direct replacement for their suspension components that may need a solid update. Now, this is also one of the most affordable choices in the category for 3-inch front and rear lift that includes struts instead of spacers if you're looking for the additional height on a budget and you're looking for a full component replacement. Now, this set of struts, blocks, and shocks is a solid combo to achieve a number of great benefits for your truck. Now, this lifts the front and back 3 inches, so you are keeping some of that initial rake from the factory, which is great if you do tow or haul and want some room to work with in those types of situations. Now, those 3 inches, though, offers a substantial improvement in ground clearance if you are taking your truck off-road, and wheel well clearance with the ability to fit up to a 33-inch tire in the wheel well very comfortably with no modification. Now, speaking of comfort, these struts and shocks are nitrogen charged for a stiffer and more responsive feel to adapt very well in any bumpy terrain and to resist fade well when working hard, all while maintaining a comfortable feel in the cab and a more controlled feel, especially when it comes to body roll. Now, as you can see, this kit includes pre-assembled front-loaded struts and twin-tube rear shocks. Both are made of a tough steel material and both are covered in a silvery gold powder coat here to protect the steel underneath from rusting over time. They also each have a large 40mm piston and a hard chromed piston rod that will resist damage as well over time, eliminating any nicks that could potentially lead to leaking. Now, the rear blocks, these are also tough, made of a carbon steel, covered in a black powder coat, and those come with extended U-bolts for a proper fit underneath the leaf spring. Now, the rest of the kit also comes with all of the miscellaneous hardware needed for a smooth install process. However, I do recommend picking up a set of upper control arms to pair with this kit to just increase and enhance the drivability and performance that much more. This kit is around $475, which is very affordable compared to other solutions in the category. Now, over 3-inch lift kits may have some additional components or higher performance features like reservoirs on the shock, so on and so forth, that you may not necessarily need for your build if you're looking to keep it simple and affordable, and if you're dailying your truck or doing light trail riding, you're not doing any advanced off-roading or racing situations. Now, I think if 3 inches is your goal with your truck, you want a system that you can build off of and a fairly inclusive kit in order to achieve it, this is a solid choice for you. So install is a 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. Mechanical experience is required for the job, and if you have that experience, the right setup and the right tools, should take about 4 hours or so to get it installed. And I also recommend an alignment after install for the best tire wear as well as overall performance and drivability for your truck. Now, at this point, I'm gonna hand it over to one of our installers. They're gonna show you a step-by-step breakdown on how this kit bolts up to the Silverado, whether you're tackling the job or you're just curious about the install. So that wraps it up for my review. Let's go ahead and get into that install process.
For this install, you need a 3/8 impact M ratchet, a 1/4-inch ratchet, a hammer, a 22, 21, shallow 21, 15, 13, 10, and 9mm socket, a pry bar, a 21, 18, 15, and 14mm wrench, and also not shown to be a lift and pull jacks. All right, today we're gonna be installing a lift kit on our Silverado. First, we'll watch a quick video how to uninstall a stock system, then we'll come back here to install the new one.
All right, first step here, once you get your wheels out of the way and your vehicle supported up in the air, we're gonna start removing our ABS line bracket. There's one here on the knuckle and one on the upper control arm. Grab a 10mm socket and get those off. Now what I like to do is once you pop that off, I like to just put the bolt back on just so we don't lose it. Just a couple of threads, and then do the one at the top. Next up, we're going to remove our sway bar end link. Now this is a pretty difficult one. You want to have a couple of specialty tools here. Not necessarily specialty tools, but specific tools. What you want to use is an 18mm wrench. Put that on the nut here on the back first. Then you're going to grab a 1/4-inch ratchet and a 9mm deep socket and hold that stud on the back end. And you're gonna ratchet this guy off like this, instead of ratcheting the nut, just because it's a really tight space. So using the 9mm on the stud itself, you can start to loosen it all the way up and remove it. All right, once you have that nut backed all the way off, pull the end link out of the sway bar, and then I'm just gonna put the nut back on the stud. Next, we're gonna tackle the upper control arm to the knuckle here by removing the 18mm nut. I'm gonna use an 18 ratcheting wrench for this. Now, if it gets to the point where the entire stud is spinning, you can put this guy in there, follow it up with the appropriate size Allen key, and hold that stud steady. All right, making life easier here because this is starting to get stuck, we're gonna switch over to a T40 Torx socket, and using my ratchet, we're gonna hold that stud steady and ratchet this guy the rest of the way off. There you go. And what I like to do is just take the nut, put it right back on the stud. Next up, switch over to a 21 deep socket and get the tie rod end off. All right, we may need to grab a hammer to knock this guy loose. Once you have that knocked loose, let's pull that guy out. And just like the other ones, I'm gonna put this nut back on. Next up, switch over to a 15 deep socket. We're gonna get the 2 bolts holding the bottom of the strut to the lower control arm off. All right, next up, grab a 14mm ratcheting wrench. We're gonna remove the top 3 nuts holding on the strut here. That's gonna be the last step before the strut comes out. There are 2 right here in the front you can easily see, and 1 deeper in the back, which is difficult to see, but you're just gonna hit these 2 and then repeat for the 1 in the back. Once you break it loose, you can usually get it off by hand. Okay, repeat that for the 1 in the back. All right, from there, pull this guy down and set it aside.
So now that our front is uninstalled, we're gonna come back here and uninstall the stuff in the rear. So we just need to take out our rear shock and our factory U-bolts. So I'm gonna grab our impact with the 21mm socket and a 21mm wrench and take our bottom bolt out. And as you can see, we do have a couple pole jacks supporting our axle. So now we're gonna go up to our top mount. Same thing, impact and 21mm socket. We don't need a wrench for this one, and just take that bolt out. And we can remove our shock completely. So now we're gonna grab our impact and 21mm deep socket and take our nuts off for our factory U-bolts. Remove your bottom plate. We will be reusing this, but we can go ahead and get rid of our factory U-bolts. So now you go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side. All right, so now we have our rear axle dropped. As you see, I dropped it with our pole jack so we can fit our new spacer in. Now you will see that there is a taper to it. You wanna make sure that the tapered smaller section is facing forward. So we're just gonna slide that in, raise our pole jack back up and line everything up. Just like that. We're gonna get our new U-bolts and slide them over. Grab our factory plate, rest that over, and then we have a locking nut with a flat washer on each spot. We'll get them all loosely installed and then get them tightened down. We're gonna grab our impact with our 22mm deep socket. We're gonna tighten these in a crisscross pattern to make it even. So we have our new shock here. You just wanna make sure that you can read the logo. That will be facing the right way up. We're just gonna get this in our top mount and thread our bolt in. We're gonna grab our impact and 21mm socket. Go ahead and tighten that down. So now for the bottom of the shock, you can either raise or lower your pole jack to get our bolt to line up. Reinstall our factory bolt and our nut. You can go ahead and grab our impact and 21mm socket and 21mm wrench and tighten that down. Now once you have this side all tightened up, you can go to repeat all the same steps on the other side. So now at the front, we're gonna get our new strut in. So we're gonna line everything up top and slide it in the bottom. So we're gonna put our new supplied hardware, we have our new bolts through the top of our strut here. Thread our nuts on the bottom and we'll go ahead and tighten them down. Now the bottom are 15mm nuts, so we're gonna grab our impact of 15, and then our top are 13. We're gonna grab another ratchet and 13mm socket to tighten that down. So now we're gonna come to the top of our strut. We have our 3 supplied nuts. We'll thread them on and tighten them down. And they are 15mm now, so we'll grab our 15mm ratcheting wrench. And then we have our last one in the back. So now we're gonna get our knuckle into our upper control arm. So we're just gonna get this here, get it lined up. Now to make this easier, I am going to get a pry bar and go under our spring here and push that down. Grab your nut and get that threaded on. Go ahead, grab your 18mm ratcheting wrench and tighten that down. Now if it's spinning, you can put your socket in there to hold it, but there should be enough tension on this since it is a 3-inch lift, so hold it down. Next, we're gonna get our sway bar link into our sway bar. Now, if you need to, you can grab your pry bar and pry down a little bit just to make it a little easier to line up. Once that's in, we'll thread on our nut, and then we'll hold our nut with our 18mm wrench and grab our 1/4-inch ratchet with our 9mm socket and tighten it down. Now we're gonna get our tie rod back into our knuckle, get that down, thread on our nut and grab our impact and 21mm socket and tighten that down. Last thing we need to do on this side is put our 2 bolts in for our wiring harness. So we have one on our knuckle here and then one on our control arm. Get those threaded in and grab our ratchet with our 10mm socket and tighten them down. Now that you have this side all secured, you can go ahead and repeat all those same steps for the other side of the truck. And that wraps up our install of our Freedom Offroad 3-inch suspension lift kit with shocks for our 2019 and newer Silverado 1500, excluding the Trail Pulse and ZR2. And remember, for everything Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.